Greetings, Earthlings. Today I'm back with a review of a brand new contender in the podcast microphone market. The microphone we're looking at is the Sontronics Podcast Pro dynamic microphone. If you are interested in picking this up, it will cost you around $150 or £100. Like always, I'll throw some links down below. And for this review, I have the microphone connected directly to the Focusrite 18i20, no cloud lifter, no FET. My gain is set just at around 315. I will not do any kind of post-processing, but I may have to boost it a bit in post, so check the doobly-doo to see what I diddly did. And now let's talk about what comes in the box. Of course, you are going to get the microphone, and you'll get a postcard-sized sheet of paper. And that's actually it. But as far as the build quality, I think this mic is a bit lacking in that department. Yes, it does have an all-metal body, but the metal grill has a bit of give to it. But to be fair, on the end where you speak into it, there is a grill that is much stronger metal. It is feather light, weighing in at 310 grams. It feels even lighter than the Shure SM58. On the back of the microphone, you'll find the XLR port. You have tightening screws for the yoke mount on the side, and the yoke has a 5/8" threading to mount this to a standard microphone stand. Then as far as the specs, the microphone has a supercardioid polar pattern, a frequency response of 50 Hz to 15 kHz, a sensitivity of approximately -50 dB, and an impedance of 600 ohms. Now I am spinning around the Podcast Pro to 90 degrees to show you what the off-axis rejection and coloration is. We'll continue around the microphone to 180 degrees, let you hear what it sounds like from the rear. Continue around the microphone to the second 90-degree angle, and then we will rotate and end at the front of the mic. Now let's go ahead and test the plosive rejection of this thing. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Now I am right on top of the microphone so you can hear the proximity effect on this thing. About 3 inches off of the microphone with it pointed at the corner of my mouth. 1 foot away from the microphone, 2 feet away from the microphone, and about 4 feet away from the microphone. Now I am typing on a keyboard with Gatoron blue switches so you can hear how much of my voice versus how much of the keyboard it picks up. And for you emo gamers, now I am clicking on the sad W keys. Here's how the microphone sounds in a well-treated room. And here's how the microphone sounds in a completely untreated room. Now let's go ahead and tap the microphone to see if there are any kind of resonant frequencies. Now I am tapping on the desk very lightly so you can see how it rejects that kind of noise when it's on a boom arm. And I will tap on the boom arm so you can hear how it rejects that in case you bump your boom arm while you're recording a podcast. Now I want to do a very quick comparison between the Podcast Pro and a few very popular options around the same price point. So right now I'm speaking into the Podcast Pro about 3 inches off of the mic. The gain on the 18i20 is set at around 315 or maybe 330, and here is how the audio sounds. Now I am speaking into the Rode Podmic about the same distance away. I had to increase my gain on the 18i20 to near 100%, but here is how the sound quality compares to the Sontronics Podcast Pro. We are back on the Podcast Pro so you can hear how this sounds before we jump to the next microphone. And now I am speaking into the Shure SM58 about the same distance away. The gain on the 18i20 is just at about 95% or maybe 430, and here is how the audio compares to the Sontronics Podcast Pro. And we are back on the Podcast Pro so you can hear how this microphone sounds before we jump to the next microphone to compare it to. And now, just because this microphone was sitting on my desk, I figured I would throw it in the mix as well. Now I am speaking into the Beyerdynamic M201TG, which is an instrument dynamic microphone. It is $300, but this is what I think a really good dynamic microphone can sound like. We are back on the Podcast Pro so you can hear how this sounds before we jump to the next microphone. And for the sake of being as complete as possible, now I have connected the Shure SM7B directly to the Focusrite 18i20, cranked the gain to 100%. The Shure SM7B is in flat mode, but this is how the audio from this microphone compares to the Podcast Pro. Is this the podcast mic to end them all? Is this what will be the Shure's downfall? I don't know, but I would love to hear from you below. Let me know. Secret, probably not gonna... No, probably not. Alright, so I was super excited to get this microphone, play around with it, and try it out, but unfortunately, I am a little bit let down. But first up, in terms of pros, the microphone does have a very healthy output for a dynamic at negative 50 dB, meaning pretty much any interface preamp is going to be able to drive this fairly well. And then also, the background noise rejection of this thing was excellent, just very well done there. But then in terms of cons, the very first thing that I noticed about it when I plugged it in and started testing it on my test rig was the complete lack of isolation from bumps of the desk or when you're moving the microphone while recording. And also, as I mentioned, the build quality does leave a little bit to be desired. I am sure that it won't fall apart on you, but it doesn't feel as robust as something like the SM58 or the Rode Podmic. And then as far as my overall thoughts on the electric guitar, first, I know it's not an instrument microphone, but I test all mics on the instruments and I share my thoughts on them. So on the electric guitar, I thought it was very mid-forward, a little bit honky, and just very unpleasant to listen to, so this would not be something that I personally reach for when I'm recording electric. Then on the acoustic guitar, I found it very dull and dead sounding with a very punchy midsection, which is just not something I look for when I'm miking up an acoustic. Next up for singing, again, I wasn't terribly impressed with it. To my ears, it was somewhat reminiscent of an old-time radio show because it is so mid-forward and it is a bit dull in the upper frequencies, so again, I wouldn't be reaching for this if I was recording singing. And lastly, for spoken word, I personally find the microphone to be very, very mid-forward and a little bit honky. And when I say honky, I mean it sounds like I'm kind of nasally and honky, honk, honk, honk. I know, that's very flattering on me. But also, I don't know any other way to describe it other than it sounding as though it is a hollow microphone. I am not sure if that is the actual capsule or if that's the construction of the body and the interior of the body. I'm not sure what's causing it, but to my ears, compared to the 58, the Podmic, and the Beyerdynamic, it has a very hollow type of sound to it. And to wrap up, would I recommend this microphone? Unfortunately not. I was actually pretty surprised when I heard it because to my ears it is very mid-forward, very honky, and it has that hollow sound to it, as well as a complete lack of rejection from bumps of the desk or repositioning of the microphone. And because of those features, or characteristics rather, I really don't think I can recommend it because at around $100, I think there are much better sounding options like the SM58, the SEV7, the Podmic, and a bunch of others. All right, that's going to wrap up for today, but I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. What did you think of the Podcast Pro? Did it live up to your expectations? Do you think you're going to pick one up, or are you going to be avoiding it? If you found this video fun, interesting, or helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, give me a big old thumbs down. If you want more videos, subscribe, logo down beneath me, hang out in the Discord server, podcastage.com/Discord. And if you want to support the channel and become one of these amazing people over here, you can do so by clicking that join button and joining at the $5 tier or higher. It helps me so much in continuing to bring you these videos. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.